Folks, welcome to the Get Off Our Lawn podcast from our man cave here in Pennsylvania. We have down in
North Carolina.
He's the tale of our two cities. He is the catcher in my rye. He is the lord of my flies. He also played the hammered dulcimer for the teen heartthrob Leif Garrett, Mr. Dave Seymour. And folks, I know what you're saying. Our folks are typically in 2D. But this show is in 3D today. We have Dave, and Denise.
And Denise, that would be 3Ds.
3Ds, folks.
3Ds.
Marie Hatch, but when we were young lads, when we were little whippersnappers, it was Denise Marie Hamilton.
That's correct.
And so from the class of 1980, we have Denise. Welcome to the show, Denise.
Thank you. Great to be with you, Dave and Dave.
So
Dave and
awesome to have
Joe.
you.
Welcome.
It's fabulous.
So
And you know what I think is so cool is the way that our class is coming together and finding one another and catching up on what has happened for the last 20 years?
Yeah.
No, really. How long has it been? 35 years. When did we graduate? Are we coming up on 40?
42.
Oh God.
42, kiddo.
Okay. All right. Well,
any minute
thanks for being part of this and bringing us together. It's what I loved about our class all the way through.
It's been great fun.
I bet.
We've enjoyed the talks that we've had with all the
they've
different
been
guys
awesome.
we've had. So
So how do people find you? I don't even know how to find you guys. You'll let us know that. You'll let me know that.
Well,
So
Dave is our link guy.
Okay.
I'm the link guy. So I've got a YouTube channel, and then we usually post and release the video or the interview, to my YouTube channel, and then we'll advertise it on the Dryden High School Facebook page, typically as an advertisement. So I don't know if you're a member of the high school Dryden Class 80 club group, whatever.
Page club, whatever it's called.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so you should see when the video is released there.
Yep.
I can
Okay.
certainly send a direct link to my YouTube channel. So that all works.
Yeah.
Well, I want to see some of these past interviews. Like who's been really fun and interesting? Who's blown you away the most?
Oh, who do you think, Dave? Well, I mean, it might be you tonight. We don't know.
It might be.
It might be.
You.
I just want to know what kind of competition I have here.
Oh, I
Well,
see.
Go ahead, Dave. Go
Well,
ahead.
what I was going to say was this is number 11 in the series of interviews. So, we've I can't remember all the names off the top of my head, but they're listed there on my channel. I can tell you.
We can do a few.
Pardon?
We can do a few.
Pat Mesmer, Jeff Markle, Sherry Case, Lori Munson,
Lisi.
Phil
Steve
Bakke.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Okay.
Yep.
Good job, you guys.
So you're in good company.
I am in good company. Yes, this is a real treat to sit with you guys tonight. I love this. Thank you.
So the typical format we follow is, until we just start talking yakety yak stuff, is just to find out the day we graduated, the day we walked off that field at Dryden, what happened to you up to now?
Well, that made me reach out to a couple of classmates to say, where did we go after we got off that field? Because that was your question.
Mhm.
Nobody could remember it. That's been way too long. Do you guys remember what you did after you left the field in graduation?
Well,
You
I mean,
do?
it was senior night, right? So we had a little party after that night, right, Dave?
So we did get on the bus and go to senior night.
And we went to, what was the roller skating rink up by
Ides Lanes. Ides Lanes and the roller skating rink. Yep.
All coming back. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I thought that was the week prior. So
Well,
I called Brenda Murray. She was correct. She's my memory of
Oh,
the
okay.
early days. Right. I just check in with my friends and say, who remembers this? What was I doing that year?
She's your
exactly.
memory storage unit. Nice.
She is.
Yeah, I used my wife Pam for that. I was like,
Yes.
what did we do and where did we go? And then she's, and then she'll list
We
them
all
all.
have to have one of those.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, so that was a fantastic party. I still say to this day, we had the best class. The teachers that I run into these days say we were the best class.
Now that's an interesting comment. Which teachers have you run into?
Yeah, drop some names.
Drop some names.
Well, I think Buddy Lang always thought we were the best class. some of the principals. Who was the principal? Yeah, Buddy loved us.
Mr.
Well,
Stefano?
That was
Mr.
John
Cooper.
Stefano. was the
No,
principal, yeah.
Stefano thought we were a great class.
Yep.
Cooper thought we were a great class.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
You must have visited their office in a different capacity.
Watched them.
Yeah, I've heard some of those stories,
Wow.
but I'm sure there was worse, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
want to hear your stories. Okay, so from there,
Mhm.
yeah, is that what you're looking for from
From your life, you left Dryden and you did what? Went to school?
So, yeah, did you go to college?
I did. I went down to the University of North Carolina,
Okay.
where I dove with the team there. I had a fun 4 years in North Carolina. Actually, I worked there for another year and a half, 2
Okay.
years following college.
Okay.
And then
What did you
so
go to college? What did you go
What's
to UNC for?
I went to UNC, started in computer programming,
Okay.
quickly left that, ended up in business finance.
Okay.
So those were a lot of fun years. And, the South was and is still fighting the war. Where are you, Dave?
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So
Well,
I'm actually in Raleigh. Dave
Yeah.
said South Carolina, but I was actually in North Carolina.
Yeah.
In your intro, Dave.
Yeah. Did I say that really?
Yeah.
Well, that'll be an edit.
You did. And
the
so,
word- put the
yeah.
word
I've
of
been in
God in there.
Raleigh
Figure that
since
one out.
90.
Well, Raleigh's a little bit easier, but I was in Wilmington, and they were, they're still fighting the war. I was a damn Yankee if I was going to stay. I was just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Yankee if I was going to go home.
Yes.
But I did stay there for about 6 years. I loved that. Headed back to Dryden in my little red Chevette, packed to the ceiling with all my stuff, and spent one day at home to unpack the car, and got on a plane to California where Brenda Murray was living, and said, "You've got to come here." So I did.
Okay.
And I got on it was the time of the 747 jet. Dave, you'll appreciate this. And it was loaded with Deadhead fans because there was a Dead concert in Haight-Ashbury, and it was like a Cheech and Chong show. And I was like, wow, this is interesting. California is going to be interesting. And the pilot kept coming on saying, "There's no smoking on this plane." Meanwhile, it was just a cloud, just a cloud, tie-dye shirts. And so I spent the next, I don't even know how many years there in California, worked in San Francisco.
Okay.
Doing what?
Yeah,
What did you
at that point, I was in the finance district,
Mhm.
and I was working in computers. I went back to computers. I did some computer backup, computer programming, data entering, that kind of thing for a period of time. And then I sold computer operating systems. And that led into the finance. So then I finally, several years later, got into mortgage banking and finance.
Okay.
I think I stayed in California. Let's see, the first time around, I might have been there several years, and it was fantastic because you could jet to the mountains and ski, and you could jet to the beach and be in the water. And I really enjoyed being there for those years.
Did you run over to Tahoe?
What was that time period?
That time period was 1980. It must have been 86
Mhm.
to maybe early, let's see, 80, it may be 85 to maybe 87, because from there I moved to Colorado.
Okay.
Went to Colorado for a year, went to Hawaii for a year or two, and then returned back to California, where I stayed for another 15 years.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
the San Francisco area?
San Francisco area, East Bay.
Nice.
Yeah, really good. It was the time to be in California. It was a great
Well,
stay.
Funny you should mention that because I was in California from 84 to 87 in the San Joaquin Valley at Castle Air Force Base. And we were a stone's throw from Yosemite, an hour and a half from Oakland and San Francisco. And San Francisco back then was a completely different state.
Completely different state. Yeah.
Completely different state. I went
Yeah.
back to San Francisco 2 years ago to visit a friend. I was like, what happened?
What
What happened?
What's going on here? What am I seeing?
I've heard. I haven't been there in a number of years.
I was flabbergasted. I was actually embarrassed for him. And he said, He said, no, I see. I know what you're saying. I'm like, I'm just saying. Yeah.
Time
it
to
was bad.
go.
Yeah, completely different state back then.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was beautiful. San Joaquin Valley is beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, good
Yep.
job. Yeah,
Yep, I
those were
enjoyed
the
down there.
years to be there.
Yep.
Yep.
And yeah, so I stayed there. I believe, well, I had my son. I was about 27 when I had my son.
Mhm.
And raised him. That was those were the years. It was when I came back, I got into the finance. Those were the years I worked finance, raised my son there, and ended up in a second marriage there. So got a divorce, ended up in a second marriage. And interestingly enough, so you got to hear this story because this is good.
Okay.
I was probably single mom for 6 years or so, 7 years. And I finally said, that's it. I'm going back to my hometown to find somebody that has similar values. But I had a list of things I was looking for. It was a long list, right? All the things I was looking for in a man. So about a month later, my sister Lori is living with me, and she was a hairdresser back here. She was a beautician back here in Dryden. I don't know if that's how you say it now.
Sure.
But she was living with me in California. So a couple cute young men came to our door, one a motorcycle racer whose office I am sitting in right now.
Okay.
And one his mechanic, and his mechanic used to get his hair cut by my sister when she was here in New York. So they came to seek her out, knowing that she was in California because they were practicing in California. And that guy that made everything on that list showed up at my front doorstep.
Wow, you ticked the boxes, huh?
He check. There was a lot of boxes to check.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you swipe left or right? Yeah.
No, I didn't have to. Can you imagine if we had to do that? No, I did not. I don't know.
Oh,
No,
man.
no. I
Couldn't imagine.
think we just got a weird sign. Some like let's manifest it here. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't have to go swiping left.
Yeah.
Right. I don't even know how to do it. Have either of you done that? No, you've been married, Dave.
I've been
Jack.
married forever. He's been married forever. Yeah.
And Seymour, when did you get married?
84.
84. Nicely done, you guys.
So we're up to,
Impressive.
what's that? About 80. Well, Dave, you just hit 40,
We
right?
just had our 40th anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're
That's impressive.
We'll be 39 this year.
Good for you. Well, how did you figure that out? How did you know how to do marriage like first time around and last for so many years? You chose good wives.
Well,
We
that's half
chose
of
it
that.
all.
That's that. And I was well, since you're asking that question, and I was telling Dave and Pam this a couple of weeks ago. Every once in a while in my car, I'll get customers because I drive Uber and Lyft now and again, and I'll get customers, and I'll say,
Go ahead and tell the story.
They'll ask me, hey, how do you, we just got married, and how do you, oh, I've been married for 40 years, and they're like all flabbergasted. They say, well, how do you do that? And I typically I have a canned answer because I get asked this a lot. My canned answer is in the first years of your marriage, especially the first couple handful of years,
Mhm.
I always say, if you can look at her across the table or look at him across the table and say in your head, I would absolutely die for that person right now. If I would die for that person right now, if it came to it was me or her or him and her or whatever the case may be, then I am still in love and it's still a good thing. And you just keep doing that till it's established.
Good
So I
point.
said that I had a couple in my car that was
Were they engaged or were they just freshly married?
they were engaged and they were getting married in a couple of weeks. They were actually in Pittsburgh spotting out venues. And I asked that question. I told him exactly what I told you. And I said, the guy, so you got to ask that question. Would you die for her right now? He goes, absolutely. Unquestionable.
No
doubt.
pause.
No, yeah, absolutely. And then I said, and you? And the girl was like,
Hmm.
So I started a fight in the back of my car.
Yeah,
They
that was
went at it.
probably the end of that relationship right there in that Uber ride.
Might have.
Dave could have saved him a lot of
You
time.
probably saved him a lot of time and money, Dave.
Time and money, time and treasure. Yeah.
Mhm.
So but that's so that's my story.
Well done.
So, yeah.
Very impressive to both of you. That's great.
Well,
So
thank
you married Blanche, Dave Jackson. Who did you marry, Seymour?
Pam Mecca.
Pam Mecca, of course.
Remember Pam?
Yes, of course.
Yep.
Nice pick. All right.
Well, it was one of those mutual things. It just sort of like aligned somehow, and then it all worked out.
Yeah.
I had a little help there. Come on.
Oh, well,
Who-
if you really want to know, Dave dared me to go out with Pam in senior year.
What?
He dared me to go out with Pam Mecca senior year.
It was a dare.
It was
Good
a dare.
work.
It wasn't even a double dare. It was just a dare.
It was just a dare.
Double dare, Dave.
And
It was a regular dare. No doubles. And now you know the rest of the
And
story.
now you know the rest of the story. The dare worked out.
And I've known Blanche in 6th grade.
have you really?
And we dated spottily throughout our years in school. And she actually graduated a year ahead of us. She was class of 79. And we went in the military. We started dating pretty heavily when she was out of school and we were seniors. And then we knew we were going to go in the military roughly together, but she went in 6 months earlier than I did. And that was the first time she's ever left Dryden. So she left Dryden, went in the military 6 months before I did, with the still intent of us getting back together in the military and having a military life and a military family, blah, blah, blah. Well, she actually met a guy when I was still home. Actually, I take it back. She went out in the world and the world was out there. And so she pressed down with her life. Dear John me during our senior year. And then I got stationed in Alabama, my first assignment. And then she was stationed at Griffiths Air Force Base, New York, and married a coworker. And only lasted a few weeks.
Oh,
She actually called me on their honeymoon from the Poconos. And I talked her out of it. And I just talked her down out of it. And she came out to Alabama after she separated from him. She came out to Alabama and visited me. I hounded her to marry me. I said, let's come on, let's quit the shenanigans here. I would die for you.
work, Dave. You're
And
good.
she divorced the guy. We got married, and
Unbelievable. That's a fantastic story. Wow. You're good. I guess that line works. I would die for you.
I would die for you.
Uh-huh.
I'm not
That's a
sure
good
the exact
line.
line.
What a salesman.
Yeah, I hounded her. When she came out to visit me in Alabama, I really hounded her. And then I hounded her so much, she finally said yes. Then I got orders to England. She was still stationed in Griffiths Air Force Base in Rome, New York.
Mhm.
So I had to go home and get married. I had to go overseas first, and we had to wait for the Air Force to find a slot for her at the base that I was at. So we were separated for 6 months until she came over to England.
Nice. And then how long were you there?
2 years.
Nice.
2 years in England. So we had our son in England. Our daughter was born in Spain.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Nice.
So circle back to you.
Great opportunity. Okay, so now we're in California.
What year are we up to?
So now we're in 97. I married I married Steve Hatch, who was racing he was a motorcycle racer, off-road motorcycle racing at the time.
Mhm.
And from just over the hill, I can get to his parents from back roads from my parents. So just over the hill.
So
in
did you go to Cortland or Ithaca or?
He went to Ithaca High School in Cortland State for college.
Okay, you went to SUNY
Okay.
Cortland then.
Yep, SUNY Cortland.
Yep,
And then
okay.
headed out on the circuit for racing and just happened to be living in Northern California practicing for the winter. And so I got a hold of him and we soon moved to Scottsdale, Arizona.
So
Oh,
you
okay.
met a guy from Dryden in San Francisco.
He came to my front doorstep because
Wow.
I put him on the list. It was a weird science
Cosmic,
situation.
like,
Wow.
lines, right?
Wow.
Yep,
That's
yep.
crazy.
I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
So then we moved shortly after we got married. We got married in Yosemite, which is now on fire currently,
Yep.
sadly, and headed to Scottsdale, Arizona for probably the next 17 years. Fantastic area. Way up north, Scottsdale on the Tonto National Forest. There was 3 million acres next to us, way out there where he had a lot of motorcycle trails. It was a fabulous place to live. I built a big yoga community out there. 'Cause at that time, I had already been studying in the yoga systems.
Okay.
And so I built a big community in Cave Creek, Arizona. Fabulous place to
How
live.
did you
Wow.
get into yoga? how did you discover?
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. As an athlete and as a continued athlete after college,
Mhm.
I did triathlons. I did outrigger canoeing when I lived in Hawaii. We went to Worlds when I was in Hawaii. In fact, we won Worlds the 2 years that I raced canoeing. And then triathlons in Northern California. And I just became really degenerative. My body wasn't going to handle running anymore. So I went from pavement to dirt, and then it just wasn't going to run anymore. And so I went from dirt to walking, hiking, and just got so degenerative while I was teaching a women's program in Hawaii. And this woman came in to teach the yoga part of it. We had hired her to teach yoga. I had no idea about yoga. And I'm thinking, yoga, this is going to be so easy. I really had a little attitude about it. And I got my butt handed to me. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. And I was at the top of my game as an athlete. And I thought, wow, there's something. This is curious, right? And on top of that, she was just this very peaceful, incredible being. And I thought, there's something to this. So I started that practice. Gosh, that was in the early 90s. I started training. I actually started training in the early 90s and trained and studied in 20 years, 25 years of constant study, still studying.
Wow.
And about when I moved to Arizona, a woman had called me up and asked if I would help her in a retreat. And she came to my house. And when I opened the door, she was this larger than life, charismatic, beautiful, joyful person. And we were talking about putting this retreat together. We were in my kitchen and my son walked through, and he was, I don't know, 15, 16, ornery, and I said under my breath, can't wait for him to go to college. And well, she proceeded to tell me that her son had been murdered. And for the next, I cried with her for the next few hours. We cried together. We laughed together. We went through every emotion. And when she left my house, I called the system of yoga that she was involved with. And I said, whatever it is that she's got, I want, that's what I want to study, because I felt she had been through the ultimate betrayal in life and had found joy, and is a woman who travels internationally and makes big things happen and changes lives. And so I, went and studied with her for the next 20 years. And in fact, just saw her in Syracuse. She's living in Mexico now, and she just came into Syracuse to teach a class, and I went to be with her. But I also, that became my career. I built yoga communities. I began to teach to professional athletes. And that was probably, gosh, I must have been one of the first people out there in yoga teaching to the Padres. I had the Padres, the first team I had, the pro team and all the minor leagues with them. So, I'd have rooms of 60 guys teaching them yoga 25 years ago. That was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but what they very quickly found out was that the injury rates went down, careers were longer. And so it became a very popular thing that was then in most professional sports. So then, I went to work at one of the big facilities out in Arizona, and I had a lot of teams. I had a lot of individual pro athletes. I had the New York Jets when I would come back here during the summers because they were at Cortland. So I'd work in their training room on their injuries, yoga therapy. And then simultaneously, I was doing international retreats. So I would take people to Bali or Italy. In fact, I've got Italy coming up for the first time since COVID. Is my first international travel in a few years. I have Italy coming up, but we did Costa Rica. We've been all over internationally with yoga retreats. And, then COVID hit. And and everything got shut down. So I did a pivot. But prior to that, we left Arizona. So here's another great story. All right, I'll give it up. So I was we'd built this fantastic house out on the forest in Scottsdale. And I did my meditations there every morning, and these indigenous faces started to penetrate my meditations. There were 13 of them. I could see them. I got tidbits of wisdom from them, information. It was really interesting. And I would look forward to being in those meditations because this information was coming from these indigenous women. And then one day in my meditation, they said, let's sit amongst these red rocks. And then they would give me more wisdom. I got out of my meditation, went into my house, and one of my colleagues called me, Yoga Gal, and said, I don't know who these 13 indigenous grandmothers are, but they're coming to Sedona and we got to go. And I got goosebumps. I thought, oh, that's interesting because these are indigenous faces I'm seeing. It was red rocks I was sitting amongst that day in my meditation. So I go to Sedona, where these 13 indigenous shaman women represented all tribes, Africa, Cheyenne in Arizona, Mexico. They were from all corners of the world, shaman women. And we did a 4-day fire in Sedona, and they brought in water specialists and attorneys, and they were trying to overturn the papal bulls that got set into motion by the 6th Pope, which says all indigenous peoples can still be removed from their land, and you cannot heal with your herbs, and many things that got set into motion by that 6th Pope. But anyway, when I first sat in front of them, what they said was, you are here because we penetrated your meditations. Got goosebumps all the way to the top of my head. But I studied with them for the next probably 12 or 13 years. And they started here in Seneca, and they ended here in Seneca because they said, there's very strong women here. This is where women's rights started. So they wanted to start and end their time together here. And they did some amazing things. But one of the things they said as I studied with them, is that water would become an issue. And Northwest and Northeast were the places to get to for water. Well, I was living in the desert, and I was living in this place called Rio Verde Foothills. We had dug an 1,800-foot well, and it went dry.
Oh, yeah.
And within the first few months we were in the house, right? So we were trucking water. And so, the crash of 2009 came, and we had the opportunity to get out. I mean, 75% of the people walked away from their homes because our home fell out by, it was unbelievable how much money we lost in that home. So we're like, well, let's go back east. Let's get out of here because water's going to be an issue. Let's go to New York. A month ago, my son sent me an ABC News clip that said the Rio Verde Foothills is getting cut off of water by Scottsdale, and most of the wells have gone dry out there. No more water in the Rio Verde Foothills. So
There's no aquifer there at all? There's nothing?
The aquifers are drying up.
Wow.
Yep. So it was good timing to get back to New York, and that brought us up to COVID. And
Okay.
yeah,
And you came to where the water is.
I came to where the water is, really. Like it's incredible here, right? Even though
So when did you move back to New York then?
Yeah, so we came to New York about 8 years ago. I've been here for about 8 years. So
Okay.
what year are we now? Yeah, I don't know what year that was. To 2013, maybe?
Yep. 12 to 13, yeah, in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
2014. And yeah, so then, I started another yoga community here, built a yoga community, a school of yoga. And then COVID hit and everything. I did a pivot and went back to working with athletes again, both in yoga and mindset, mostly mindset now. So that's my big thing, is working a lot of motorsports. I've worked with every genre of athlete, every lane: golf, NFL, MLB.
Now, do these teams find you, or do you find them? All these pro
Both.
teams.
Both. At this point, it was both. And at this point, they're finding me. And, and I've gotten some stuff out, some information, but I was one of
A lot
the
of word
early
of mouth.
pioneers of yoga. Yeah. And I was one of the early pioneers of yoga. So
Wow.
now, it's more word of mouth with the mindset. And I've worked with the athletes in mindset for, I don't know, probably 20 years, but now it's really starting to be more accepted, I guess you would say. Like 10 years ago, you would ask an athlete, golfer, where the game of golf is played, and they would say between the ears, 98% is mental, and 2% of them would actually seek a sports psychologist. These days, it seems to be much more acceptable, and people will, these young athletes who I think are at a much higher level of athleticism than they ever were, are seeking it, are wanting to know how to be better, are less ego. Less ego, less fear about, working with who are you to be teaching me about mindset, and much more open.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think people are after just about any edge they can get in the professional sports, right?
I would agree.
And so they're open to all kinds of things.
Yep, it's true. Yeah, I've worked with some interesting people, I got one of the highest paid pitchers in the history of baseball. He got a contract for at the time it was maybe 127 million. And he would sit in vortexes. He'd go to Sedona and sit in vortexes and manifest what he got a job for the San Francisco Giants. And he said, I'm on this team to get, Major League, what is it called when they win the championship? What's that?
The World Series, right?
World Series. Thank you. So he said, I'm here for the Giants to win the World Series. And I don't think they had won the World Series since 1954, maybe. And they won. He said, I want the right coaches. I want the right team. I want, he really went to work on it and did some really incredible, manifestations with it, whatever. And they ended up winning the World Series 4 times when he was on the team. Yeah.
That's something to put in your resume.
Yeah.
Well, that stuff is like, it's like all underground. We don't talk about that stuff. And I don't.
But still, that's incredible.
Right. Well, I don't know that was me. That was him. I probably learned more from him than he did me. He was an incredible being. And at that level, with those people making that kind of money, they're pretty interesting. They're not ordinary minds. They're extraordinary minds. They're doing, like you said, Dave, they're doing whatever it takes to get that edge.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting.
Very interesting.
Wow.
Now, just on your Facebook page, I've also seen you travel in the world and having look like workshops. And you mentioned a minute ago, Costa Rica and Italy and things like that. And so how did you hook up international travel?
Well, if you look at our 1980 yearbook, and hopefully doing, I am going to be traveling. That's what I said. And so and
you're one of the few that have prophesized correctly.
It's correct. Right. And so I just decided I wanted to do some international travel. I threw it out on Facebook to say, I had seen Sting, the singer, had a house in Tuscany, and he was doing yoga out on his deck in Tuscany. And I said, that's it. That's where I want to go.
That's where I want to go, right?
So I reached out on Facebook and says, anybody know how I can get to Tuscany and where I can rent a place to bring a group of yogis to Tuscany for a retreat? There was an American man who used to live in Scottsdale, who was now living in Italy. And he said, yep, I'm in Umbria. And about a week before that, an Italian man who was in my classes in Cave Creek, Arizona, said, no, you don't want to go to Tuscany. You want to go to Umbria. It's very mystical in Umbria. So that's where I ended up. And that's where this guy reached out from, was Umbria and the Umbrian region. And so I started going there on a regular basis. Love Italy. Yeah. And we just started to venture out and find the places really where I want to travel and take groups with me.
Nice. And so do you typically go find a facility, and then do you have contacts in the destination?
So yes, either I find somebody in that area that can help me with those contacts and those logistics, or I just start figuring out the logistics. What can I rent? How many rooms can I get? Yeah.
Very nice.
Wow. That's incredible. That's really
It's
cool.
been, it's really been, it's been incredible. It's been cool. It's, you know, there's something about going to foreign lands, as you both probably know, that gets you out of your comfort zones and your way of thinking. We get so habitual in the way that we
Yes.
do day in and day out with everything that we do. And I just find that I'm better when I get to leave my comfort zones. You know, it's just, I'm always better. So I love traveling, and I love taking people out of their comfort zones, though it's not easy. You know, you ask somebody to come to Bali and travel halfway across the world, they're not going to show up happy. They're going to go, why did I come here? What you talk to me into what?
Right,
So,
right.
you know, it can take a few days to kind of get them
adjust,
settled and to adjust and realize that it's an amazing experience and transformation will happen.
Nice. So you're currently in New York then?
I'm currently in Dryden. Yes,
Better
I'm-
than New York. You're in Dryden.
I'm in Dryden. I'm back on the farm that my dad had purchased 50 years ago.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
That's
And if you had
incredible.
told me that 10 years ago that that would happen, I would have told you you were crazy.
You're crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. hmm
Wow.
But it's,
Wow.
you know, you know what happened is I came back here and realized how much beauty was here that I didn't know when I was 18 and ready to get out at all costs.
I found the same thing. I mean, you don't appreciate Ithaca and the gorges and the area and the landscape until you go somewhere else to live. And then you try to find that, and it, you know, you can't do it.
Can't. It's right.
Uh,
There's some incredible beauty here. And I guess I just didn't pay enough attention to what all was here. And the, you know, the conscious farming coming out of Cornell and the young farmers here and what they're doing and what we have access to. It's fantastic.
Well, it's interesting to me that we grew up in Dryden was a farming town. Either you worked at a farm or you worked at a place that supported a farm. And now when I go home, I'm like, where's the farms? I'm like, okay, I know they gotta be, but I see downtown. I mean, Dryden is transformed in so many different ways now. I get a little bit bummed when I go home.
Yes,
A little bit bummed.
that's a bummer. Yes.
You know, I see Main Street when I was home. Well, when I was home for the funeral for Carly and Eileen's mom, I went down Main Street and I was like,
yeah.
holy cow.
Yes.
I mean, the bowling alley's been gone for a couple decades, well, probably 3 decades now.
Yeah.
I mean,
We
all that
were
stuff-
up, with Sherry Case, they're talking about the dairy farmers or the number of dairy farmers in the area.
Yeah.
How the number has been shrinking year after year.
Yep. Well, it's interesting
So-
because everything went from being, when we were kids,
Yep.
everything around Cuba Lake and Seneca Lake was farm country. Now it's
That's right.
wine country.
Now it's
That's right.
wine. Wine's
Mhm.
still
Alcohol wine.
It's right. And there's, you know, I mean, we could get into the politics of Dryden, but there's things that need to change, you know, and maybe when I'm done with my career, who knows, I'll go
Yeah.
sit on the board. I don't know, but it does need to change. And it's sad. I went into Homer the other day to eat at Dasher's. Have you been into Homer?
Could I break for 1 minute?
Yeah.
We've got 1 minute left on this meeting. And because
Yes.
we're doing the free Zoom calls, we're going to change over to the next link that I just sent to the
Okay.
chat.
Yep.
Okay.
And so
Totally
we'll end this one here, but keep that thought.
Okay.
hold
So
that
you
thought.
in the chat, the
Wait,
link's in the chat.
Yep, there's a new link
Yep.
in the chat, and you can go to a new meeting.
Yep. We'll be right there.
And we'll get
Okay.
another 45 minutes.
Okay, great.
All right.
Great.
In a
All right,
minute.
see you in a minute.
Yeah,
So we're
right.
back
It's
there.
right.
So anyway, it's what it is, right?
What it is. Yep, you bet. So I was saying that Homer kept its charm.
Mhm.
You know, it's beautiful restaurants, coffee shops, boutiques.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really charming downtown area. And Trumansburg's the same thing. You go over to Trumansburg and you have a really charming town, nice restaurants to choose from. And Dryden, on the other hand, unfortunately, has
Yeah.
some work to do here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
turned into more of a bedroom community, I think, for Cornell and you know,
Yeah, it feels like, yep. It
less.
feels like it's being swallowed up by the colleges.
hmm hmm
I mean, I
Well-
might be wrong, but that's how it feels.
That and yeah, there's so much more that could be done because of the colleges. We could have restaurants that could be supported. We could have hotels being kept out of here. However, you've got a lot of low income housing coming in, which I'm not opposed to. That's got to happen, but you have to balance that in a community, right? And yeah, so it's just there's some things that have to be tweaked, but I'm sure they'll get it. Dryden's always been an amazing place. I'm sure they'll get it.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
Yep. So Dave Jackson, where are you in Pennsylvania?
A little town called Butler, which is just about 40 miles north of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Over here on the west coast,
Right.
west side of Pennsylvania. Yeah.
That's right. The
Yep.
West Coast.
Yeah, the west coast of Pennsylvania.
West Coast,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And
West
and
Coast.
David Seymour, you're in Raleigh?
Yeah, I'm just outside of Raleigh in a place called Cary. And
Sure.
so
Sure.
I'm about 10 miles from downtown.
Sure.
And
I
I've
know
been
that
down-
well.
Yep. So we came down here with the high tech stuff in the triangle.
Yeah, nice. You like the triangle?
Well, the triangle is, how shall I say, it's the high tech medical, pharmaceuticals, Amazon's here now, Apple's coming, Facebook is coming. They're all coming here to this area. And so I did electronics for all of my career. And so I retired basically January of 21.
How is it that the retirement is happening?
That's exactly it. Well, Dave hit retirement last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It's interesting that I don't have to keep a schedule. I'm
I
a
bet.
little leery about that.
Yeah.
'Cause throughout my life, it's been schedules, deadlines,
Yes.
through my military career and then through my career in cable television. It's just been deadline schedules. And then now I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah. Pam and I have to figure out what day of the week it is again.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's like you wake up and you're like, it's like Tuesday or Wednesday. It's like, because it's
And today
That's
was a
crazy.
perfect example for me because I got up and I was like, boy, should I go ride my bike first? Do I need
Decision.
should I put my weight
fly
bench
a
together?
drone? Yeah.
I know Blanche is gonna need some care today. I don't have to do anything tonight.
Right. There's no requirement.
There's
so-
no requirements. There's no requirements. So I don't have to rush into things. And right now it's just odd. It's just really
Right.
odd.
Bet it is.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how it is.
How's this going to go? Well, good for you guys. Well, you just got to keep yourselves busy and having fun. And I can imagine that both of you have a lot of extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. All kinds of nice little hobbies.
All
So
kinds
your
of
kids, I want to hear about your kids.
My kids, I have a son who's 33 and I have a daughter who's coming up on 21 in a couple of weeks. She's back here. Again, she headed out to Arizona, New York City, and now she's back here since COVID. And my son lives in San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's about the perfect climate.
Perfect climate. Perfect. Yeah. And
What do
Yeah.
either one of them do?
so my son is in music. He's a musician.
Okay.
And my daughter she's also an artist, photography, videography,
Mhm.
and currently working at the Taganic Inn where
Ah.
I'm thinking about going and working there too. Can't believe how much money she can make over there.
Is she doing photography at Taganic or is she helping?
No, she's serving at Taganic. And so her photography and videography is elsewhere. I told her they had a guy come in that went to Ithaca College and purchased that Taganic Inn. You remember that place?
I was up
I've got
there.
I
just
have a
last
lot of
week.
history to Taganic Inn.
So
They were doing an
Taganic,
expansion.
Trumansburg, that was my whole world when I was a kid.
okay. I got to hear more about that. But he came in and redid that place. It's beautiful. They did the Enchanted Garden. They have a tent for wedding venues, and so it's a really nice place. And she's working there. She's serving, but
Okay.
photography otherwise. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, since it's a wedding venue, I didn't know if she was able to latch on to some of that photography.
Well, that's what she needs to be doing. Yes, I'm putting that bug in her ear. She needs to get over there and do that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But I think she makes so much money serving. It's hard for her to think outside of
Good
that.
for her.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah,
That's
it's a fantastic deal he's got set up over there. He's done really well with it.
yeah. Well, you wouldn't want to listen to your parents anyway. So,
awesome. Don't, yeah.
you know, if it's their idea, right out.
Out the door. How about you, Dave Seymour? Kids?
2 kids. I have a son who just turned 30, and he is doing maintenance for an Amazon sorting center.
Nice.
So he doesn't work for Amazon, but they contract out for all the sorting, flipper doors, in and out, elevators, all that kind of stuff. Then my daughter is a veterinary technician. She is working for NC State. And so she's at the emergency room doing triage for animals that come in.
Interesting. Good for her.
She's been doing that for 5 years, 6 years now.
Yeah.
He went up
Yes.
to Ann Arbor and came back home.
Excellent. And Dave, I know you lost a son.
Yeah. Yeah, we
And-
lost our son in 2006. Yep.
And you guys seem like to have really recovered and
Well,
Found-
as fate would have it, my daughter was pregnant when AJ died.
wow.
And so our son's actual name was Adrian. And then when AJ died, Kristen named our first grandchild, who's now 15, Adriana,
Uh,
in honor of AJ.
Mhm.
So that helped a lot. So, we had
Okay.
grandkids, a few months after AJ passed away. So that helped.
There's no greater joy than grandkids, I hear.
There's none. I've
Yeah.
got 4.
Oh, that's neat.
Yep.
So she has 4 kids.
15, 13, 2, and 1.
Wow. Are they by you? Are you around them a lot?
They're 2.5 miles down the road.
Lucky you.
Yep.
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 That's what you're going to do with retirement.
Yep. Yep. And Kristen, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kristen's 34. And
Yep.
Neat.
Yep.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, I was so happy. There was only a moment to see you guys at Pat Edmonds Memorial, but
Yeah.
it was really great to see you live and in person, and just to hear a moment about, your life, what you've done. I feel like at this point in our lives, I'm not going to say I'm slowing down, but reconnecting to some people, having come back here and reconnected to a few who who stayed in the area, and just to hear about their lives and reconnect. And
Yeah. It's always
No,
great fun.
it's such great fun because we got busy working and raising kids and
Doing
You-
life, right? It
doing
was
life. Yeah,
And
And
it
I
seems
feel
as
like-
people it seems as people start to slow down, they want to reconnect again.
that's right.
And
And what I love about this class that we had is that there was always this thread of camaraderie and friendships that, just continue to come back together over the
Mhm.
years, it seems like. And in ways, I didn't hang out with you guys a lot during high school, but love reconnecting. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm finding relationships like that I didn't hang out with a lot in high school, and reconnecting with people that it's beautiful. It's like, it's coming home.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
Well, it's funny because, even if we didn't hang, we had a common thread or a common experience growing up and going through Dryden,
Right.
right? And so when you say, oh, Buddy Lang or, John Stefano or stuff like that, everybody knows,
We know who you're talking about.
you don't know what you're talking about, right? And if you're talking to somebody new you've met, California, Arizona, whatever, they're like,
Don't know.
don't know.
Sorry. Nowhere to connect.
That's right.
Yeah. We all got dirt on each other. We
There's a lot of dirt there.
Now, did you refresh my memory? 'Cause I remember seeing you in a few pictures from many, many early years. What did you go through Dryden through your whole time? Through
I
elementary
started in
school?
Marathon, and I came to
Okay.
Dryden in the 4th grade.
Who was your 4th grade teacher?
Dugan.
Oh, you
Mrs.
and I were in the
Dugan.
class together. Yeah.
You and I were in the same class?
Mrs. Dugan. Remember,
Mrs. Dugan. Yes, we
No.
were. I remember you being in the photos. Right,
if you remember,
sure.
if you remember, we had a baby shower for her.
That's right.
Yep.
Yes, we did. In fact, I saw her when I was back home one year, and she was working at like McLean Carnival or something. I saw Mrs. Dugan, and she said,
Wow.
And she said, she was one of them. She said, your class was one of my favorites.
They're
So
always
weird.
saying
That's
that.
so weird.
They just say that, don't they?
I know. They always say that. That's a canned statement. Who'd you have
Mhm.
for fifth grade?
Don't remember.
Really?
All right, hang on a second.
Hey,
I'm gonna go here for 1 second.
Who did you have?
Mrs. Witter.
So here it is.
There's Mrs. Dugan. There we go.
Seriously, you brought that up that quickly. Good work. Where are you, Dave?
Right there.
Well, Dave Jackson
Sure,
is right
right
here.
there.
He's the tall.
Oh,
guy.
look at you. You were big guy, tall, right? I
Look at that
remember.
tall guy be, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
let's
Beauty.
see here. Now, where are you, Denise?
She's
you-
not there.
I don't see you.
I'm there.
Oh, there in the blue shirt.
Yep, right next to
Shirt.
Carlene.
Yeah.
This
Look at Carlene's attitude. Look at Carlene's too.
I know. She even had two then, didn't she?
Dude, she was a hellion. She was a hellion in third grade.
Yes, she was.
He's got the tooth there. I can tell.
Yeah, the two there.
Hmm. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Good
I
work.
don't remember who you had for fifth grade.
Ah,
We'll have to go dig around a little bit.
Yeah,
'cause
dig
I-
around.
I had Mrs. Gilbert in sixth.
Okay.
Who did you have in fifth grade?
I had Mrs. Witter and Dave had Mrs. Fitzgibbons.
I had Fitzgibbons. Yeah.
I didn't have either one of those. What other fifth grade teachers were there? Do
Well,
you
there was
remember?
Farron.
Mr. Farron.
Mr. Farron.
Was it Mr. Booth, fifth grade?
No, I think Boothie there was 6. I think.
Okay.
Sorry, that's gone from the
Wow.
memory. There's
Well,
lots of
well-
lapses.
I'll
We'll
poke around a little
We'll
bit.
dig through some pictures. We'll find
Okay.
out.
I
All
started scanning and I made a little album up on the Dryden page there that with the classes from all grade schools. And so,
Okay, good work. I'm going to get on this. I have not been. All right, you're encouraging me to go hook into this.
So
And-
I want to hear about I mean, and again, you can edit this as any way you want to.
Yeah.
Your life in Dryden High. I mean, you and I were in totally two different worlds during this, the formative years of high school. What was it like? I mean, when I went through the yearbook, and I had to have Dave find it because I didn't find any. The only picture I found you on your senior picture was your cheerleading picture.
Mhm.
You have any other clubs or anything like that? Did you do anything besides cheerleading?
Yes, well, yeah, I did all the sports. I was a softball player. I was a diver. I started my diving in
Oh,
high
wow.
school. Uh-huh. Swim
Wait.
team.
We had a diving club. We had a diving team.
well, we had a male,
I was
we had
it.
guys and girls swim team. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Yes, there was a guys and girls swim team.
Yeah.
Did you do the tumbling or?
Yes, I did the gymnastics. Thank you. I was in that.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
I'll have to
Yeah.
go pull some of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, other than that, like those are a I'm gonna have to look for you and yearbook pictures to piece some of those memories together.
So,
I loved my high school experience. Loved it.
okay.
Mhm.
Now, who was your favorite teacher? Everybody had one, or typically.
I think I liked Mrs. Grace. Remember the English teacher? Didn't we have an English teacher, Mrs. Grace? Wasn't that her
You
name?
recognize that name, Dave?
I
Come
don't
on,
remember
work with me.
That name's not clicking.
That's not,
Well,
that's not
I-
ding the bell.
I thought she was remarkable. I thought she was a great teacher, but favorite teacher, I
There were a number that like Lieberman comes to mind. Mimi Lieberman for biology and physical sciences.
mhm.
Danny Stiles for math. And calculus.
Styles was great, yes. And then the other math teacher started with a T.
Let's see.
There was Stan Hugo.
San Hugo.
Hugo, right?
And I was
Yeah.
trying to remember another math teacher.
Oh, you guys are good. Oh, you've been talking about
I
that.
mean,
You've been-
Mr. McLean, but he was.
There was Dave
seventh or
McLean.
eighth grade.
He was like 7th or 8th grade math.
Yeah, he was junior high.
We'll have to
What-
go peruse that.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I don't remember the names of a lot of the high school teachers. Those years are gone.
Yep.
Wow. I'd like to replace that.
It's in a
I've
box
inserted-
somewhere.
I've inserted stuff about yoga, took out stuff about school.
Other things have had to take over there. They're just they're gone. Yeah.
Wow.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Oh, my default's Chuck Hanley. I just said he was social studies. He was also the what I would call the argument class, debate class, which was
Right.
great fun.
Great, I bet.
I
Were you
was,
in
I was
debate
that class with
club,
his wife.
Dave?
What's that?
Were you in debate club?
I was
Because
not.
didn't they have a
Oh.
debate team?
Oh, we'll have to look at the book. I don't recall a debate team.
Yeah, that's a good thing to know. Did Dryden have a debate team?
I don't think they did.
I thought they had one for at least 1 year, but I would have to go research that.
Dave Seymour, who was your favorite teacher?
Oh, hands down, it was Mimi Lieberman for sciences. We had an absolute ball in her class, and I had some kind of world record for detentions through her. We had
It was a
more.
hellion.
So were you always getting in trouble? You were a real
I
hellion?
was all let me. I was always in detention. For
Okay, well,
Because you got in trouble.
for screwing around in class, right?
right, right.
'Cause I was always screwing around in class.
You were the screwball. And so they would just not deal with you and send you off to detention.
Correct.
But
Okay.
yeah, he still passed just fine.
National
I'm sure.
Sarcasm Society.
I love that t-shirt, by the way. That's fantastic.
Like we need your support, right?
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
And so, yes.
Okay. So, and you, Dave Jackson, were you in trouble a lot?
I think I got detention maybe, I could probably count in my hand how many times I got detention.
I lost
wasn't
my
thing.
fingers and toes after that.
Yeah, it just wasn't my thing.
It was a lot.
I did some stupid stuff kind of in the realm of some stuff that Dave did with the exact same teacher, I might add. But
Right.
just because he would do stupid shit and I'd be like, okay,
Come on, Dave.
I might try something stupid.
Yeah.
That right now, had I thought, if I tried what I tried back then, I'd have been in a penitentiary right now.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I can
absolutely.
tell you that the teachers and the school
Totally.
systems today would not deal with what we did.
No,
Oh, I'm sure. No,
No.
no way.
no.
We would be
No.
suspended and home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They had a lot more tolerance. Were you guys buddies in high school? Were you really close?
We were
Ah,
pretty good. We
yeah,
hung out quite
yeah.
a bit.
Yeah.
We had a lot of common friends, and
Yeah.
the music guys or the music guys I hung out a lot with, the band and chorus guys, and then Dave and Markel and Plourde, and some of those were sort of a clique,
Yeah.
that we hung out together.
I
Sure.
wasn't a music guy, even though I loved to watch it, and I wasn't a jock, except I ran track. So I was kind of like in that middle road thing.
Yes.
Kind of played both sides of the farm.
Right.
You weren't completely jean jackets, and you weren't
Yes.
completely
Yeah.
varsity letter, right?
Yeah, correct.
Right. Somewhere in the middle. Fonzie. Yeah.
And What
No,
was the hey, let me ask you this. I know you weren't in that picture there, but maybe you can answer this. What was the purpose of the Key Club?
Nobody knew. I don't even think the Key Club knew.
That was the most bizarre thing.
It was really bizarre, wasn't it? It was a secret society. I'm
It
pretty
was
sure
a secret society.
It
It
was.
was like the freaking high school Masons.
it was.
We had a secret handshake.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this every time I went down the hallway or something.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it was always kind of like, yeah, we're going to go meet the Key Club. I mean,
Yeah.
what
And-
was that about? Do you know anybody that was in it?
I mean, it was the same set of guys. It was Mike Motzi and
Yeah.
Bob Everett and all the the
Yeah.
athletic guys and a
Yeah.
few girls.
Wasn't
The
Baki in
Eskimos
there
were
too?
it. Huh?
Wasn't Phil Baki in that too?
I don't think so. Maybe.
They never talked about it either.
They didn't.
It was a secret society. They still don't talk about it. You need to find out who you need to
We'll get Mike on.
get
Mike
Mike.
and Bob Everett.
Get Mike and Bob. Yeah, they have to, they'll tell you.
What was up with that Kiko? It's like every time I see Library Council, I'm like, what are you guys like the freaking some sort of secret society? Library Council.
Exactly.
Weird.
What were you doing?
Yeah.
More often than not, it got you out of class.
Yeah,
That's really why
That
anybody
was why we were in band and chorus and did stage band, is because
And-
we got to go do an ensemble.
Same
We gotta
thing.
Go to practice.
Yep, and that's why I was in the TV club, because I'd go out and have to take the camera and go
That's
shoot
right.
this or shoot that. Or,
I remember that. Yes, good jarring of memory. Yes, I remember you doing that. Yep. And Dave, were you in the band all the way through high
Indeed.
school?
Yeah.
What did you play?
Well, so from 4th to 12th, I played saxophone.
Yeah.
And so various saxophones, marching band, things like that. Then about ninth grade, I picked up bass guitar.
Oh, cool. I didn't even realize they offered that there because I was in the band up until the ninth grade. So I remember you on the sax.
And you played clarinet, correct? I knew it. I knew it.
Yep.
See that, Dave? I said that.
Yeah, nice job.
And had I known that they had some electric guitar, I would have been doing that. What was that, like ninth grade on? You could do that?
Yeah. So in ninth grade, they John Godfrey formed a stage band or jazz band. And so nobody in the school played bass at the time. And so a buddy of mine, Steve Egger, had a guitar, and Leon Heffron was drumming, and we needed a bass player. And so just so happened that a neighbor lady of ours, Mrs. Craig, says, you know, I got a guitar in my closet, but I think it's only got 3 strings. And so we ran over to Mrs. Craig's house. We dug out her closet, and sure enough, it was a bass guitar. And so I had to buy a set of strings, and then suddenly we had a band.
Nice.
So that was the summer between 8th and 9th. And yeah, I don't know if you've seen any of the posts or any of the pictures, but I still play bass to this day. And so
Yes,
we're
I
in-
have. That's cool.
Yeah, so we have an active dance band, and I play at our church on Sundays and whatnot. And so it travels well. You meet a lot of people. I would say 80 to 90% of the people I know down in the Raleigh area are musicians,
Right.
you know, because
right.
different bands and reforming, and we've done fundraisers, etc., right? And helping each other out and filling in. So it's a great way to meet people.
It sure is.
It's probably the same as yoga, because I imagine yoga
Sure.
you can take anywhere, right?
Sure. There's communities everywhere. Right.
Communities
It
everywhere.
becomes small.
It travels. It's easy, right? I mean, easy to meet people, easy to plug in.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool. Good for you. So you're gonna come north and play it all up here?
Well, you know, I there was rumor at one of the Dryden High. Now, I haven't been to any of the Dryden reunions in quite some time, and I was going to say, you know, Toby and some of his guys and Chris Jordan, we were going to try and get her out there singing again. Chris
I
Jordan
think-
just showed up on Facebook the other day, and so
Good. Good. I think that you should do it. I think that needs to be a reunion up
I
here.
think that would be a funny thing, because we, you know,
Mhm.
do you remember back at the high school, we had these things called rockathons, where you rocked in a rocking chair and raised money. It was like a walkathon,
Yes.
but
yes.
only either the gym or the cafeteria or some combination of.
Mhm.
You get sponsors and you'd rock for the
Mhm.
day.
Yep.
And so
Rockathon.
we played a couple of those with the Franz Pisley, Chris Jordan, Leon Heffron, Toby bands that we were in high school. And so that was some fun times.
Fantastic. Love
I
it.
wish I had video of that.
I know,
Yeah, no
right?
kidding.
Well, you know, on one hand, wish we had video of some of those things. On the other hand, thank God we didn't have video or social media.
Yeah, you
Well,
can
you
go
know,
either way.
we were thinking about that because, you know, if we had documented the stuff we were doing and stuck it on YouTube, we'd been in real trouble, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Exactly. Exactly.
You know what was funny, speaking of stuff like that, is I went out and I don't know, did you ever go up to the 6 Mile Creek Dam and like
Sure.
jump off the cliffs?
Yes.
If you go out on YouTube and type in 6 Mile Creek Ithaca jumping, there are kids out there making videos jumping off those cliffs
Yep.
and off the little pump house that was there and
Wow.
swinging on that rope.
Yep. Yes. I used to come back from college and work with, well, it was Rick Gilbert. So I had his wife as a 6th grade teacher. He was the coach at the Cornell diving.
Mhm.
And so I would work his summer camps with him and we'd go up there with the divers to that Six Creek. And
Would you cliff dive then?
we did cliff diving. We were doing gainers right over those trees and stupid stuff.
It's just dumb stuff.
Yeah, and
Dumb stuff.
I was up there one time and I can't remember the guy's name, but you know, he above the dam, there was a big cliff on the far side. You could jump off. So he jumped into the deep water behind the dam. Then he got on the dam and he jumped down to the creek below.
Oh,
And there was enough water on the second jump that
oh
he
my God.
didn't kill himself. But I was like, yeah, I'll jump off this side. I'm not going to jump off the damn
Yeah,
side.
yeah. How many lives lost up there? Yeah, that
Yeah, no
was
kidding.
wild place.
There was always something, right? Somebody hitting a
Always
tree
something.
underwater or something, right?
Hmm. Always something.
Always something. Yeah, I was thinking. So you were a diving instructor for a while then, Denise?
Yes, yes. I would come up here and work Rick Gilbert's diving camps at Cornell.
Huh.
Yeah, and then after college, I did a little bit of it, just
Okay.
here and there, but not much. I didn't stay with it for very long.
Did you dive yourself then?
Yes, I dove. I dove for the University of North Carolina.
Okay, down for
wow.
Wilmington.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. That was some fun years. And I met my roommate and diving companion was from Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she ended up in California after I went out there. She came out and did a big real estate company, still has a very large real estate company out there so we've stayed friends over the years.
Nice.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So we gotta ask the question, the elephant in the room. We have an elephant in the room here.
Here we go.
So
Okay.
here it is.
Bring it out.
What's up with the nickname in the yearbook?
What was my nickname?
Dave?
Well,
Bring up the picture, Dave.
All right, here it is. I'll share my screen, right?
Here we go.
Hamilton Bone.
Bone. Oh, so Kurt Canis.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I mean, of course, I was skinny,
Okay.
but Kurt and I loved Tom and Jerry, and he always sang the song to me, "Ham Bone."
Ham Bone, Ham Bone.
Ham bone, ham bone.
I
Yeah.
know the little guy with the guitar, right?
Yeah, Ham Bone.
Yeah.
He'd pop a
Yes.
string and he would reach over to Tom there and pull out
Exactly.
a record, restring his guitar.
Yep.
Exactly.
Ham Bone.
That was Kurt Canis's song. Every morning we'd have to hook up and talk about, the Tom and Jerry episode from the night before. And then Kim Vosch, you remember Kim?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, she clung on to that one, and that's all she called me was Bone. She still
Bone.
does to this day, Bone.
Wow.
I wouldn't have guessed that link.
In a million years.
Yeah,
Not in a
I wouldn't have guessed that story.
Oh, what was going through your mind? Where did you think that?
I'm like, maybe she enjoys steak. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I mean, you were very skinny,
Yes, I was.
right?
Yep.
And so I figured it was along those lines, but
Yeah, I think it crossed over to many things, but Bone stuck to these
Yeah.
days. Bone.
now does anybody call you Bones now?
Just Kim occasionally,
That's funny.
probably after a couple glasses of wine.
Fine. Yeah,
There you go.
Come on. That's
Uh-huh.
hysterical.
Yeah, yeah. Funny,
Wow.
isn't it? You
That's
guys
funny.
still holding on to some high school names?
Every once in a while, somebody will call me Jax. Just
Jax.
Jax with an S. Jax. But that's
Yeah, I don't even remember if anybody called me a nickname.
well, I know Joel used to call you Freak all the time.
Oh,
Thunder.
well, that came actually from Kurt Canis as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
Kurt
you know
was
what? I
good.
remember that. I do remember that.
And you know what it was? You remember the cereal back in the day called the Freakies?
Yeah.
Had Snorkeldorf and some of those other, I don't remember the characters anyway. And so anyway, he would call me Freak.
Wow.
Oh,
But-
that's fantastic. All right, freaking Jacks.
So-
Here on out.
I don't know if we're going to be coming back to those, but anyway.
But when we did our thing with Phil, we did our podcast with Phil, he called
Yeah.
me Jack throughout the entire podcast.
Did he?
Excellent.
And what did they call Phil?
Let me just call him Bach. Baki.
Just last night.
Yep, Baki. So how about speaking of Phil, how about those the outfit he got into to do the little run for raising money?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was
He's
a
a good
great-
man. He's a good man.
He's a good man.
Yep.
That was impressive.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes. Would either of you have done that?
Well, we were supposed to.
We were supposed to,
We're supposed to get
and
down there.
we ran into some scheduling issues and we
Yeah.
didn't make it down.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
We legitimately had, we were set up, we were trying to figure out how to, for me, when I'm North Carolina, then David and I got a road trip down there.
Yep.
And then to be fair, I was getting up on my schedule and my granddaughter says, hey, Grandpa, don't forget about this date, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, that date rings a bell. Cause I was supposed to take her down to Pittsburgh to go bike riding that day. I couldn't bail on her.
Oh,
couldn't
you
bail
know,
on
Mm-mm.
No.
Can't bail on a
Had to
granddaughter.
cancel.
You
Had to
can't bail on the
cancel.
grandkids.
Nope.
That's exactly it.
So what other questions do you have? Do you have any questions for us? I mean, you had some, but do you have any more? Go ahead, fire away.
All right. So, yeah. So let me think about this for a minute. What was the worst thing you did in high school? Any of you end up in jail?
No.
No, never had a jail sentence. Some of the pranks that we used to do, right? We had all kinds of things going on. There was this is a Mimi Lieberman story. And this is one of my favorites. And so we had to go out and make, we were supposed to make self-sustaining biomes. So basically we were supposed to take a mason jar or a small tank that you were going to put a lid on. And you were supposed to keep things alive in it, right? For some amount of time, for biology class, right?
Okay.
All right. So anyway, we went out, we got like a quart-sized mason jar, and we had like a trout and a crayfish and a turtle and things that could never survive in a mason jar in a closed environment, right? Okay. So the thing ended, and this was like in the fall. And so what we did was we took our jar and we stuck it in the back of the cabinet behind a bunch of stuff. And we let it ferment until spring. And if you can imagine taking this thing out and sticking it into the air conditioner vent that was in front of the window and popping the lid on this thing, they had to like evacuate the room. Yeah.
Whose class was that?
Mimi Lieberman's class. And all we could hear was anaerobic respiration.
Anaerobic respiration.
Lack of air, it's still alive, right?
Ugh.
Anaerobic respiration. Good one. How about you, Dave?
I got in trouble once for the most dumbest reason. So senior year, Jill Hollister, rest her soul, and I were down at the senior table down there below the steps, down there in the C wing, hanging out. It's the first half of the day I didn't have any classes. Neither did she. So we were just hanging down there. And eventually we would set up, just our heads would be on the table, we'd just be napping. We'd just fall asleep. So I go home from school that day. My mother's furious. She got a call from Sam Cooper. And Sam Cooper, with all the seriousness of anything, said to my mom, hey, you need to know that your son David is sleeping with Jill Hollister.
What?
And my mom, read, that, no, this is a point in time where, I was seeing Blanche, she'd do Johnny, and I was semi-courting Dave's sister on and off. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on. And my mom was like, what are you doing? What the hell's going? And I said, Mom, what? She said, Sam Cooper says you were sleeping with Jill Hollister. I said, Mom, we were literally sleeping heads down on a table at the bottom of the stairs. That's what he meant. I had to talk her into that. So finally I said, you need to call Sam back and say.
That's some dirt that Sam Cooper would start. I could see that.
Oh yeah, that was complete bullshit.
Yeah, I could see that. That's totally Sam Cooper.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So along those lines, you must have at least one favorite story, Denise, from high school.
Oh gosh, we were
Rolodex is going.
Yeah.
Can I tell that story?
We weren't bad. We were mischievous. Let me start there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was, it was one of the after football games, and we were in at one of the lakes. I don't even remember what lake it was. And we wanted a boat. So I was with Brenda Murray, Kim Bose, Marie Matze must have been there. They're
Mhm.
all gonna hang me.
Sounds like the cheerleading team, right?
Yep, it probably was.
Yep.
And we just went and got this boat, one dock, untied the thing and took it down the lake and, and then had to try to figure out how to get it back. I don't think we ever got it back. We left it down the lake somewhere.
Was it
Just on a random
motorized? Or was
boat on a random dock.
It was just on a random dock. Yeah, I think it was motorized, but we didn't have a key. We just
so you
untied it,
paddled
and floated off.
it, loaded off.
Wow, that is mischievous. Yeah,
There
I
you
fall in
go.
that category.
Yes, we were mischievous.
Wow.
I think we all did things.
Yeah,
we all did things. Yes, we did. But we were good kids. None of us were out there being
Well,
bad.
we were well protected by our mothers. I mean, we all had our mother group too. So
True.
we were all well protected. At least I don't know about. I can't speak for Dave and Freeville, but the kids, Mrs. Edmonds and my mom and Mrs. Fitzgibbons and Mrs. Bowker,
Yeah.
Mrs.
The problem
McCartney.
was all the moms knew each other.
Yeah,
Exactly. That was a big problem.
Yeah.
And all their older kids had already been there and done that. Like they had
Right.
your number. You weren't going to get away with anything. Yeah.
Yep.
they'd already been through with our brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. So we got about 2 minutes left on this Zoom call. We can start another one, or we could wrap it up in the next 2 minutes.
No, we can wrap it up. We can wrap it up in 2 if you're good with that.
Yeah. You got anything else you want to say? Questions? Anything? What do you got?
No, I'm just so thrilled to reconnect with you guys. I'd love to know more about your lives. I just want to sit with you and hear more.
Yeah.
So interesting. I really loved running into you, Dave, and hearing that you were in the Air Force, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
And just finding out
And
more about.
Dave is the only reason I got into a musical career because of his bass playing at a rockathon. His sister had a little bit to do with it, but it was mostly Dave.
What are you doing with the music?
So I play bass guitar as well, and I actually got the chance to tour with Air Force's Tops in Blue and to tour the world playing bass and entertaining the troops for a full year.
What? Good for you. I had no idea.
Yeah.
See,
Yep.
this is what I'm talking about. How
Yep.
fabulous.
And it's literally because of that guy right there.
Oh,
So-
and that's
So we're under a minute, and I don't want to.
Yeah,
If we
no,
need
we're
more
good.
time, we can get more time, but we should end it elegantly as
Yes.
opposed to being just chopped off.
Yep.
So
Thank you,
Denise,
Denise. You're the
thanks
best.
Thank
for hanging out.
You're a great sport. We loved having you on. Maybe we'll do an additional down the line type of thing. Or maybe we'll get a couple cheerleaders on at the same time.
That
Yes,
would be
there you
something.
go. Yes, that's a great idea. It's really great spending time with you guys. Good
Yeah.
job, you guys, for doing
right.
this. Appreciate it.
Much thanks, dear. Appreciate it. Love you.
Thank you.
Take care,
Love
Denise.
you guys.
Do a
Take
stretch
care.
for us. There you go.